Hello everyone, and welcome to the ninth session of Star Trek Kongo. If this is your first time here, hello and welcome. We are an actual play podcast that is using the Star Trek Adventures rules system by Modiphius Entertainment. We're set post Star Trek Online in the year 2415. Our ship, the USS Kongo, is a Trident class that is part of the Babylon fleet out of Deep Space October. Now, if none of that made sense to you, just don't stress about needing to watch any of my other games, or if you have to leave early and people are just spamming bits and subs to throw me off track. I see you. My point being, you shouldn't need to watch any of my other content to enjoy today's session, but you can catch the VODs on YouTube. I see you. On YouTube and most of the popular podcast solutions. Speaking of a few notes, I just want to say that tonight is probably going to be lower deck themes, specifically because it's sort of important, or at least I found it's important, to give the players time to make up their own plot lines, playing with NPCs, tying up loose ends. It's something you want to do every so often in any role-playing game. So we'll see what happens. I have a small script if we need it, but we're just going to see where the roleplay takes us. Addressing a few things besides the generous bits and subs, and thank you all so much for that. I did want to address a couple things I saw in chat. So first off, we are starting with both momentum for the players and a complication stored for me. And there's more anonymous bits, thank you. The other thing that I literally just had Shizno come into chat and be like, so ELH, when are you running a JAG game? And then I thought to myself, I don't have time. Wait a minute. I do have time for a JAG game. So, probably tomorrow, because I have to go to bed early tonight, but tomorrow, probably I'm going to open up applications for like a one-on-one or a two-on-two, some small group of a JAG game in Star Trek Adventures where you're just going to travel around doing JAG things because why not? But yeah, I think that's it for all the announcements unless a hype train starts. So why don't we have everybody introduce themselves before that happens, starting with Mr. Lee.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew. I play Captain Lee Tobin, a former science officer and chief engineer, who is an intensely religious Bajoran on his first command.
John here. I play Jaro Terrell, the ensign who used to be a pilot, is now chief engineer, and is now piloting again a little. So yeah, that's me.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I am Lieutenant Commander Datig, the USS Kongo's EXO/science officer. He is a contrarian Tellarite who's not afraid to tell the captain what he thinks.
And I'm Watney. I play the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Alel, the Denobulan. You can find me on Twitch at Doc Watney.
And I'm Dag. I am Kongo's resident ex-Borg/augment tactical officer who is descending more and more into his "we are Borg" moments. And if you want to chat about it, hit me up on Twitter at TrekNexus.
And if you don't know me by now, I'm ELH the Game Master, and I believe today's opening log is coming from the captain himself. So Mr. Lee, take it away.
Captain's Log, Stardate 93956.7. The Kongo is returning to port, Deep Space October, carrying its precious cargo, an orb of the prophets discovered on Jurek's world. A contingent of Vedics has already been dispatched from Bajor by Kai Kira to retrieve the orb from Deep Space October. Given that it went unrecorded in any of the prophecies and sacred texts that I've studied, or been able to review in the Kongo's database since we discovered the orb, its unearthing threatens something of a religious reformation on Bajor, but I trust that the orb was revealed to us at the opportune moment as part of the Prophet's greater plan for our world and the galaxy at large. Continued investigation has yet to reveal its nature or domain, and even deep scans designed to plumb the orb in our advanced laboratories or trigger an orb experience have proven fruitless. I hope that a conversation with Ensign Jaro, the only member of the crew who succeeded in connecting with the orb, will provide some clarity. The return to Deep Space October will also allow me to finally see my family in person for the first time in nearly 8 months. It's only now really struck me, as I'm on the eve of seeing them again, how much I've missed, how much I've given up in watching them grow. It's gotten to the point that I'm questioning my decision to leave them on DSO. Taria would no doubt say that I'm being overly emotional, and one of the most heavily defended outposts in this sector of space is the best place for the children. But I can't help regretting the objective, logical truth of that. I miss holding my children. The journey thus far has been uneventful and promises to offer the crew a period of respite that I hope to use to help bring the crew together. To that end, I've invited the senior staff to celebrate the Bajoran Gratitude Festival, a time of transition and new beginnings when my people reflect on the blessings that have been afforded to us by the prophets and leave behind the travails and lamentations of the past. Given that the ghosts of the Shellyak survivors who have passed away, though Dr. Allel was able to ensure that they did so painlessly, still haunt the ship, we all need a new birth. I don't know if I made the right decision to avoid intervening in the timeline in order to save them, and the prophets have failed to offer me any guidance there as well. I guess that's just another thing I'll have to live with. End log.
Very nice, and I'll give you a momentum for that log. I really liked where you went with it. So, before we do the whole Bajoran festival thing, I believe we have some requests for a few scenes in particular. So, first things first, we're going to start in Kongo's ready room, where, Captain, you're probably getting some materials ready for the festival. I leave it to your discretion what those materials are, but case in point, there is a chime at your door.
And Lee will look from his requisition pad and so the schematics of the various different renewal scroll replication requisitions that he's made and the like, and he will call to the door. Enter.
And in steps a certain Ensign Jaro.
Hi, Captain. I trust this is an okay time?
Yes, Ensign. I appreciate you being willing to meet with me. Please, have a seat.
Yeah. Okay. He sits down kind of a little tentatively. Just a little, apprehensive.
And Lee, taking note of that, will sort of move his computer console to the side slightly so that there's nothing between them, leaning back in his chair, adopting a more relaxed posture. Ensign, you have permission, of course, to speak freely. Are you doing all right?
Oh, actually, I'm doing really well. But I had some questions about the orb.
I'm not certain that I'll be able to answer them, Ensign. Well, forgive me, since we're off the record and speaking freely, would you mind if I call you Jaro?
Sure.
All right. Jaro, I'll answer any questions that you might have to the best of my abilities, and hopefully you can share something of your experience as well.
Yeah. Well, sorry I really haven't talked to you about this yet, but it felt more like a hallucination, I guess. Everything was white, and well, my friend Jonna was there in the white void, and well, I guess my question is, was it him or was it something else, like me or like my subconscious, or I don't know.
Honestly, Ensign, Jaro, I can't answer that question. I've had an orb experience in the past, and I personally choose to believe that the person that I saw in that vision was real, that it was really him. But I don't know. It could have been the prophets. It could have been them showing me some part of myself that I needed to exercise, a demon that I needed to confront. What matters is less the reality of the person that we encountered, at least so far as I view it, and more what we choose to do with the truths that we've been exposed to.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, it did help me, so I guess there is that. I guess I was kind of hoping it was actually him. Well, I guess that kind of answers my question.
An orb experience is typically only discussed, at least among my people with whom we are intimately familiar, or a religious counselor of some kind, a Vedic or a Prylar. I don't want to pry, and I don't want you to share anything that you're uncomfortable with, Jaro, but if you want to talk about it, either its implications or its potential reality, I'm here to listen.
Well, I just mean, well, I kind of regret what happened, but I don't, because he's alive. But in the vision, I'll call it a vision, he said that he forgave me for my intervention. So I guess that's good. But maybe that's just me allowing myself to forgive myself. I don't know.
I don't know, Jaro, how much you know of my own history, but I made a choice in my own life that had disastrous consequences, or I failed and that had disastrous consequences. The people around me never forgave me, and I realize after many years that really wasn't what I needed. They could go on hating me for as long as I lived, but I had to find a way within myself to overcome it, to not hate myself, so that I could be useful to other people again. Maybe if it was just you, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's just really difficult. Well, I feel like I do, especially when it comes to this.
I'm a religious man, but I'm not a clergyman. I'm not a Prylar. What I have to say isn't nearly as important as what the experience meant to you. What makes sense to you?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that makes sense to me about this whole thing is the fact that, yeah, I think it was me forgiving myself. I mean, I had just allowed myself to pilot. Yeah. Oh, I did repair the scrape on the hull, by the way. But yeah, I think that's probably more of what it is.
Jaro, I've been debating whether I should tell you this. The information was provided to me in confidence, and he's going to move the personal computer console slightly in between Jaro and himself, and he'll turn it around after opening up several different messages. And you'll see displayed on the screen a series of time-stamped communiques that have been sent back and forth between Lieutenant Jana on Deep Space October and Lee since before the Kongo departed. They become progressively more sporadic, but you see that there are messages from the very outset. I've actually been in conversation with Lieutenant Jana, I'm Deep Space October. I solicited his opinion on your suitability as an officer, as a potential engineer.
Okay. I assume that went well then.
He spoke very highly of you. Perhaps there was a lot of anger there, but through that anger, there was also respect for your abilities, and I suppose to your, well, for your commitment to your ideals, even though he disagreed with them most vehemently.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense.
He also mentioned what he did during your trial, when he left behind, I think it was a key to some vessel that you had constructed together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, Jaro, we don't try to hurt people we don't care about. We don't want to hurt people that we don't care about, at least in some way. He still... The reason you hurt him so badly was because he cares about you. And the reason that he was so angry, I think, is because, well, because of that pain. And it's natural for us to lash out, to want to inflict that back. But if he wasn't invested in you, if he didn't still care, he'd just be apathetic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe right now I'm just kind of debating whether or not I should seek him out when I get to Deep Space October. I guess I'm kind of battling with the fact of, do I think he would want to hear from me?
Well, you know him better than I do, Jaro. You were his best friend, and maybe you could be again one day. I don't know. How do you think he would react? And what do you need?
What I need is not important.
Ensign, I think that's what's most important.
Maybe. And he looks down at his pad. I have some scheduled maintenance. I need to go take care of that.
Of course, Jaro. Frankly, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to help you more.
Oh, no. This was actually a very good conversation, sir. I found it rather enlightening.
Then I'm glad that I could help you, at least in some small way. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and to share an experience as intimate as that of an orb encounter.
Well, I mean, for me, it was... it was something. It just wasn't the same as it would be for, I guess, like you. If that makes sense. I'm not trying to insult. I should just go.
Jaro, it's quite all right. I'm fully aware of the fact that people don't share my convictions. Nonetheless, I want you to know how much it mattered to me and how much I appreciate it, even though it doesn't mean the same thing for you.
Thanks again, sir.
You're welcome. And you don't need to awkwardly leave. You're dismissed. It's fine.
Okay. And he hurries out of the ready room.
It's one of those things, Lee, where after Jaro leaves, you start to go back to your pads when you hear a knock, as if a knock on a wooden door. And last you checked, there are no such wooden doors in your ready room.
And Lee will put down the pad. Computer, identify the source of the sound that I just heard.
There was no sound other than that of your own breathing.
Is the sound continuing, GM?
You ask the computer, you sort of sit there for a moment, and then yes, you do hear the knock once again.
Can I localize it?
You can. I'd like you to roll me an insight and a con, please. Difficulty of 1.
Oh, that's not going to go well.
So I'm making you do it.
Okay, then I will give you 1 momentum
All right.
to roll 3 dice.
In before all complications. Oh, hey, no, that's 3 successes, so you actually get 2 momentum right back. You are able to determine where that noise is coming from very easily. And as you start to look to the left of the camera, we pan away, because I'm an asshole, to the 5 aft lounge, where 5s, you're already seated at a table, but Dotig, you've arrived to get a lunch, dinner, whatever you'd like to flavor it as. And in general, 5 aft is actually kind of empty right now. I mean, obviously 5s is there, but there's only a few ensigns, red shirts. There's maybe an engineer in a corner, but it's kind of dead hours right now.
Yeah, so Datig will enter the lounge holding a pad, go over to a replicator, and command Recta Gino. Grab his mug, turn and see 5s. He regards the pad and then heads over and takes a seat unbidden across from him. Lieutenant, I hope I'm not interrupting you.
You are muted, Daddy,
You're
as
muted.
is tradition.
Initiate your vocal subprocessor.
Just wanted to get the prediction out of chat into the play. Lieutenant Commander, not at all. What can I help you with?
Well, I wanted your opinion. I've been running some sustainability studies about looping the weapons arrays targeting scanners into my science console to more accurately track and analyze small, fast-moving objects in space. Particulate matter, micrometeorites.
Something wrong with the array we already have?
No, not specifically. It's quite adequate most of the time, but, I was just thinking maybe we could, as the humans would say, put some spice in it.
I mean, we'd have to recalibrate the ODN housing to make sure the flux array is polarized properly. But do you want to scan for neutrinos?
Not so much. Just I really want to start doing some subatomic analyses of ambient particle emissions in deep space.
Well, I'm sure if we prioritize the project with someone from engineering, we might be able to begin new designs on quadratronic reintegration within the sensors.
True. All right, nobody's going to say it, so I'm going to have to be the one to say it again. All right, what the hell's wrong with you lately?
You see me reading a paper book in the mess hall and something's wrong with me? It just has a nice old-timey feel.
Nope. Don't deflect the question.
Lieutenant Commander. Recently, I have begun wondering if my assimilation and therefore my subsequent liberation from the collective hasn't left a different kind of mark on me. I mean, I spent 15 years with the collective. I was basically a kid out of the academy before, all that happened. And I had a really strong reliance and dependency on my social circle. And when I was liberated, I tried to become that person again. And maybe the farm is not the most adequate place for someone to retry solid socialization. But being aboard Kongo, I have learned a sense of self-reliance that I did not have before. And there are occasions when I don't necessarily say I want to rejoin the collective, but I kind of long for what I would call ironically the solitude of being a drone. There are just times when you can disconnect, so to speak. You're still part of the collective, but you have no objectives to tackle, no directives to follow in that moment. And for that brief period of time, the solitude is quite nice.
So is that why you came here, seeking solitude, some time alone with your book?
No, I came here seeking cocktail recipes for the upcoming Bajoran ceremonies. So I forgot the holiday, but the captain is celebrating.
I believe it's the Bajoran Gratitude Festival.
Right.
Is it not? From an anthropological perspective, it's really quite interesting the way that languages in completely separate parts of the galaxy tend to mirror each other somewhat. It's one of my little hobbies. However, did you know that the greeting for the Bajoran Gratitude Festival, Peldor Joy, a very nice sounding phrase, very lyrical almost, indicative of much of the Bajoran language itself and culture, really quite beautiful, bears a striking resemblance to an Axonarian phrase, Peheldar Johoy. It actually translates to, where is the excrement pit?
It's fortunate that the captain probably doesn't speak Axonarian.
Well, it's his loss. It's perhaps somewhat less lyrical, but much more to the point. Eschewing much of the poetry of the Bajoran language itself. Of course, Axonarians being Axonarians and not Bajorans, I mean, who can blame them? Plus, being a sort of distant genetic relative to the Klingons, that tells you something too.
Lieutenant Commander, you're not so easily swayed from a topic, and in the span of 6 minutes, we've already discussed 3. Are you feeling okay?
I mean, I feel just fine, although I've got, recently I received a communication from Deep Space October that has me concerned. I'll have to do something that I didn't enjoy the first time once again.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's what happens when you put on the uniform. Sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do because somebody who's a higher rank than you tells you to. Not unlike a collective, as it were. Your Unimatrix receives orders from farther up the chain, all the way to the central plexus. Do they still have those?
No. Not since the Prime Unicomplex went dark.
Right.
Well, we are going back to Deep Space October. Are you going to be okay?
I mean, Have you ever known me to not be okay?
It's true. You regularly share lamentations.
I do, but in my own way. Not so overt as perhaps some of the more sensitive races like you humans, but we all feel.
Do you
Can
have
I-
anything to be grateful for during this time?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for a chance to prove that my history is not my destiny.
I believe I would share that gratitude.
Then maybe we have more in common than either of us would think. Except, of course, you being mostly loquacious, generally quite insufferable. You eat popcorn on the bridge sometimes, which I generally do not approve of. But unless the captain comes down on it, I can't really do anything about it.
Hey, we
Just
only
sort of the frustrating thing about being a first officer. You think you get to run the ship, but you don't really get to run the ship. You just get to hand out the orders of somebody else.
So you're saying you want to be captain then?
I mean, no, I don't think I said those exact words.
I'm just kidding, Doctor. Lieutenant Commander.
Yes.
I've been reading this book.
What?
I know I'm changing the subject again, but I've been really fascinated by this book. It's a list of the top 100 beverages in Starfleet. And it goes all the way back to Captain Pike. I don't know if you know him. He was the
Oh
second
no, I
captain of
don't. I don't know the legendary Captain Pike at all.
Well, I just learned about him
the
in
man
this
that
book.
the man that I learned about at Starfleet Academy. As soon as I went in there, he's basically chapter 1 of Federation history.
Maybe I should have taken more attention in Federation
I suppose
history.
really not. It's Federation history. I believe what they call the golden age of exploration, which really is quite insulting to people of our generation, don't you think?
I suppose there has to be a frontier for any society.
Anyway, you're reading a short book about 100 drinks that.
Oh, it's just drink recipes with little like captions in here. Captain Riker's in here. And...
I'm curious. You called it a book, and it's. I mean, really seems more like a pamphlet. Is that your idea of literature? I thought you were an augment and supposed to be superior and all these things. I mean, you never thought to read Tolstoy or?
Too loquacious.
Touché.
I'm a big fan of late 20th century comic books, if you're interested. They have a really great one called Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. What the... I mean,
it's very
obviously interested, but what does he do?
He does what a spider does.
So eats his food by vomiting up a bilous solution of digestive enzymes, waiting for the prey to turn to a sort of a gelatinous liquid, and of course, since he has no teeth, because spiders have no teeth, just sort of sucks the slurry of bile and partially digested flesh into his stomach. Yes, okay.
You must be way ahead of me. I think that's a spoiler. I'm not there yet.
I mean, that's what a spider does.
No. This one is just like a teenaged human scientist who gets bit by a spider, and the radiation from the spider transfuses into the human body and produces a mutation.
Blood sickness, yes, I know. It's very dangerous, and it would typically require many weeks of radiation, especially in the primitive conditions of 20th century Earth.
Yeah, but they didn't have that then. This was back in the late 20th century, and he just figures out how to crawl like a spider, And then he is really smart, and he builds these devices that allow him to swing from webs. Spiders don't really do that. You know, I'm beginning to think that the song that came along with the comic books is a lie. He doesn't really do what a spider does. He does like whatever a kid does. I hate you.
I know.
And I think that's an excellent opportunity to shift focus once again. Oh my god, Spider-Man. We're going to shift to Kongo's holodeck, where stepping inside are Dr. Hillel and Ensign Rowan. Now, Dr. Hillel, context for this scene is that Rowan has invited you out as sort of a gal's night out type deal. She hasn't really told you a whole lot of details of why or where you're going, but she has promised a quote-unquote good time.
Okay, so Alel will she'll have arrived with probably in her like civilian clothing since she's off duty. She'll just be kind of like nervously staring around. So, am I dressed appropriately?
And Rowan, for her part, is actually dressed in almost a human 1950s outfit, where she kind of has on a male pattern business suit, has sort of that stereotypical private investigator jacket on, even has the I don't know if it's a fedora, but she has that kind of stereotypical hat that goes with it. And she's carrying an umbrella. And as you enter and she turns to look at you, she says, "Yeah, I'll do just nicely, Doc. You're going to want to stand under this with me." And she opens up the umbrella and holds it out so that two people can sit underneath of it.
Oh, Alel will totally just slip right into character and just like kind of trot over and just kind of cozy up under the umbrella.
And
for what's next.
Rowan sort of looks at the ceiling and says, "Computer, activate program Rowan Alpha 1." And everything shifts to a rainy street in what might be New York City of the 1950s, which means that you're seeing primitive gas-powered vehicles. You're seeing basically 2 to 3 story buildings surrounded by much larger 10, 20, 30-story buildings. But in particular, you've arrived outside what appears to be a cafe of some sort. A Chateau Noir, which you're not really sure if that's actually a thing. But the door is open to the cafe, and through it, you can hear a little bit of jazz music as the rain pours down around you.
She's going to grab... Okay, how tall is Rowan, first of all? Out of character?
Rowan's about 6'3".
Okay, so she's going to grab Rowan's arm and be like, "Is this Earth?"
Yeah, this is a program I found at the Academy, and I don't know, supposedly something like this existed in New York at one time, but I never was able to find it in real life.
Is that jazz?
That is jazz.
Oh my god. She just like runs out from the umbrella, just like straight into the establishment.
And of course, when you run inside, it is almost everything you could hope from a noir cafe.
Are the doors open?
The doors are open, yeah. That's how you're hearing
Okay.
the jazz. But basically, to sort of set the scene, it is a small, sort of cramped affair, really nothing more than a hole in the wall. But you have, of course, the counter where a barista/bartender is cleaning a glass, a coffee mug. There are perhaps about 5 or 6 tables, if that, inside. There's a very small stage on which a jazz band is playing. They have both little violins, some trumpets. There's even a piano, like a miniature piano that somebody's playing at. And everybody's human in here. Everybody is human. And as you come in, sort of look around, the bartender/barista kind of looks up and says, "Hey, welcome to Chateau Noir. Can I get you anything?"
Alel's just like waiting for Rowan
And Rowan kind of
to get in.
wanders in
She's kind of
behind
frozen
you.
for a second.
And as Rowan comes in from behind you, she says, "Yeah, Mac, the usual." And Mac
Yeah.
nods and
Usual.
says, 2 lattes coming right up. You still want it the Bajoran way, right? Yeah, Bajoran will do just fine. And Rowan motions over at one of the tables, and you kind of have to like worm your way past like a bookcase with a bunch of books and jazz albums in it. But as you sit down, the rain outside actually intensifies to the point where it's kind of that nice white noise, but it's not overbearing. And Rowan just sort of relaxes in her chair and kind of tips the brim of her hat and says, well, what do you think?
You know, I can get really lost in holodecks. They just seem so real to me. And this is no different.
Isn't that the point of a holodeck? Make you think that what you're seeing and experiencing is real? Go places you couldn't otherwise go?
That's true. That's true. Is it like is this like a mystery? Or is it
I mean,
just
it could
setting?
be. Would you like a mystery?
I don't know. Would you like a mystery?
I did kind of get into character here, but I didn't want to spring it on you.
Okay. So yeah, Alel's obviously very awkward at hanging out with somebody in a holodeck because she doesn't like usually do that. She usually doesn't spend a whole lot of time in them. So she's kind of just anxious if there's a story to get the story moving. But so she tries to just kind of relax and sit back, like take in the surroundings.
And the one thing I neglected to say is that the smell is not just your stereotypical coffee. There are scents of lavender, scents of vanilla, scents of maybe even the cigar smoke coming in from one of your other patrons in this establishment. But it's not overbearing. It's almost like if you've ever been to a hookah bar or around a hookah bar, there was one in college I went to all the time. It's sort of that pleasant aroma that is fruity, but also, again, not overbearing. Incensey, that's a good word.
Yeah.
But as you wait, Mac comes from behind the counter and on 2 saucers sets down a small cup, maybe about the size of an actual teacup, and it is a latte with a heart-shaped art within it.
We'll look down in the cup. She's like, oh, I almost don't even want to drink it.
Well, that's Mac's specialty. He likes doing little bits of art that you hate to have to destroy. Isn't that right, Mac? And Mac just sort of winks at both of you and goes back behind the bar.
Alel kind of gets like an interesting vibe at this point. She's like, so, do you use this program frequently?
Oh yeah, whenever I have holodeck time, I usually come here to relax, unwind. Been thinking about showing it to people, and I thought, well, if I can get the most awkward person in a holodeck and make them feel at home, I think I could show this to more people.
Oh, did you create this?
I had a little help, but I'd say about 85% of it is me.
Oh, really? Well, you're quite the artist then.
And she actually points past you at the jazz player, the one with the trombone, and she kind of points at him and then points at the one with the saxophone and says, you know, I had to study for about 6 months to get the motions right. What a lot of people don't really get when you make a holo novel is, sure, you can rely on the computer's libraries and you can have the computer fill in the gaps, but there's a sort of intimate feeling with getting to know the correct movements, the gestures, the passion that comes from seeing a performer playing. Chef's kiss.
I mean, I completely agree. This is quite immersive. I would say it's more immersive than other holodeck programs I've been in before.
Well, of course, don't mean to tease you that much, Doctor, but it was my understanding that you didn't really do the holodeck thing all that much.
Well, she feels like a little caught. She's like, I do make use of it somewhat. Not too often. Like I said.
Well, if you want that mystery, And she kind of points up at the ceiling as if to indicate she's ready to tell the computer.
Oh, well, let me just sip on my latte for a second. Takes a sip. It's out of a replicator, of course.
Actually, it tastes damn good. As in, somebody did something to make it taste like the real thing.
A special recipe. She kind of like winks at Rowan. Yeah, it's great. Takes another sip. Yeah, I'm ready for that mystery.
Well, you're going to want to have this then. And she hands you the umbrella and says, computer, let's go with mystery 67 today. And the holodeck shimmers just a little bit, enough to show that things have changed. And at this point, the jazz and the rain have stopped. So all you really hear are just sort of the ambient sounds of the street outside. It's still nighttime, and there are still people in cars going about, but there's definitely an attitude change. It seems a little bit darker than it once was before. Maybe the lights have been dimmed, both in and outside. And Rowan points out of the window and says, "See that car over there? The one with the whitewashed tires?"
The car.
The four-wheeled vehicle across the street.
Yes. The one with the round things that are white?
Yeah, that's them.
Yes.
You're going to want to pay extra careful attention to it. And you're probably going to want to point the umbrella at the window.
So she kind of fumbles with the umbrella for a second. And takes the advice.
All right. And not a moment too soon, because the car revs up and does a U-turn so that it's now on the same side of the street as this cafe. And it starts to speed on by. And as it does so, one of the windows rolls down and a brick is thrown through the cafe window. And thanks to your umbrella, you're not hit by the glass shards or any of the other sorts of debris that come through. But the car speeds into the distance as a brick with a note on it is now sitting before the bar itself. And Rowan sort of points at it and says, well, there's our mystery. Who are these people? Why are they throwing bricks through windows? How do we stop them from ruining our cafe?
Is there any kind of commotion going on?
I would say that the patrons in here besides you have frozen up and are like starting to like look around like deer in headlights, like do we run? What do we do? Kind of a thing.
So Alel will like shake the umbrella, close it. How far away is the brick?
Maybe about 5-6 feet, if that.
Okay, so she'll go get up and read what's on it.
All right. And as you pick up the note, we're going to transition scenes back to the captain's ready room. So, Lee, to sort of finish that transition period where you are locating the source of the noise, what you see is that it is actually coming from outside of your window. And what you see on the other side of the window is a creature you've never really seen before. Appears to be female, maybe. They have very dark skin, almost ash in color. They have 4 resplendent golden horns that come from parts of their head and sort of curl around to form almost like a crown of some sort. They're wearing a golden fur overcoat, and underneath are wearing a resplendent, almost prismatic evening gown or evening dress, I guess would be a better word. And she's just sort of floating outside, which, again, you are at warp right now. She's not wearing a spacesuit. Probably a sign that she's what you think she is. And she's just sort of knocking on the window, and when you see her, she kind of waves and holds up a sign that says, "May I come in?"
And Lee will gesture towards the window in a sort of sign of surrender and welcome.
All right. And she literally phases through the window and almost in a floaty fashion alights on the floor of your ready room. She takes a look around, smiles, and says, "This is actually rather quaint."
I appreciate that. I'm going to operate under the assumption that you know who I am, but I will greet you nonetheless. I am Captain Lee Tobin of the Federation Starship Kongo, and it is a pleasure to meet you, Q, I would presume?
Q, yeah, but I understand that that's confusing sometimes for you. I know it was for the Arcadia crew. They got me and Q mixed up all the time. I'll have to think on that. I actually don't have a name for myself other than Q. You'd think I'd be better prepared for situations like this. Anyway, I don't mean to be that much of a bother, Captain. It's just sort of one of those things where, well, to put it plainly, I'm sort of doing the due diligence that Q isn't doing. Just making sure everything's all right. No time paradoxes, no random orbs of the prophet showing up where they shouldn't be, things like that.
Then I'm given to understand that you are already aware of our situation. You needn't use any pretense. If you have a reason for being here, you don't have to let us know, but I would appreciate it.
Oh, well, I think you'll find I'm a bit more amenable than Q is. And she sort of sits down on the couch behind her and sort of reclines a little bit and says, "I think you'll find, Captain, that the orb you have in containment right now is something known as the Orb of Family."
And you seem to imply that it's not meant to be here.
Well,
is that the case?
Let's just say that due to a little bit of scuffs between extra-dimensional beings, Prophets Q, others, the Orb of Family has been lost for quite a while. The fact you found it at all is surprising.
I see. I don't suppose you'd be able to provide any illumination as to the nature of these extra-dimensional conflicts?
Well, that depends how much time you got.
Probably not enough, given the nature of the Q's nigh immortality.
You're catching on quickly. But I came here to deliver a message, just a very simple message. That orb is going to want to have the Kai, Bajor, reunite with the Cardassians. And I don't just mean an alliance, I don't just mean extra trade, I mean literally uniting the two people.
That would be a near impossibility for either civilization, given what has transpired over the past century.
And yet, the orb is going to make it happen. So in a way, you're facilitating a new age for Bajor, a new age for Cardassia.
I see. And may I ask why you are the bearer of this news? It seems rather strange that you would become embroiled in the affairs of the prophets and their interaction with Bajor.
Let's just say that while Q and Quincy and Lady Q and all the other Q, they prefer a teasing manner. They prefer let's tease the mortals. Yeah, I prefer a more hands-on experience, a more intimate experience, which, it is dreadfully boring in here now that I think about it. Computer, I understand your Rowan is playing some sort of jazz music. Could you kindly... And the computer chimes as if you had made the request, Lee, and that same jazz music that we heard in the holodeck just a few moments ago begins playing.
Well, it's far be it for me to question your taste in music. I would have preferred something maybe from Mozart, but all right.
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, Captain, and don't take this the wrong way, but I do know you're married, so when I say, would you like a dance, please don't take it personally.
My wife doesn't dance, and so neither do I, but I appreciate the offer nonetheless.
Oh, no, I was offering to teach so that you could teach your wife when you see her in, what is it, a day and a half by your speeds?
Dancing is probably fit for much younger men.
Come here, you big baby. And she stands up and kind of motions for you to come over and sort of do a classic waltz with her.
Oh. Well, I guess I don't really have a choice when I'm dealing with an omnipotent being.
Oh, no, you always have a choice. You could say no.
You only live once, I suppose. And Lee will stand awkwardly, straightening his shirt, grimace, and then approach the queue.
And of course, she takes the lead, her hand in yours and kind of an arm around your waist, respectfully, of course, and begins leading you in a very interesting waltz. But I think that is where we're going to take our 5 to 10 minute break. We'll be back shortly. Stick around.
Huh? Great.
I think we caught the tail end of that, but welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, well, where do we even start? We have Lee being taught how to dance by a cue. We have Datig questioning Fives' choice of books. We have Alel on a date, ? With Rowan. And Jaro's here too. In fact, Jaro's here in more than one way, as you'll find out very shortly. But we resume our little episode with Alel picking up the brick with the note tied to it with a bit of rubber banding. And Alel, as you pick up the brick, undo the rubber band, and look at the note, in what is crudely conceived as script of some sort, human script, English if it matters, you are able to read the following. It says, "Your protection money is past due. I expect to be paid in full by the end of the night." There is no other words, no calling card, just those words.
She kind of waves Rowan over.
And Rowan kind of joins you and looks over your shoulder and goes, protection money. Mac, I didn't know you had protection for this cafe. And Mac just sort of shrugs as he continues to do the bartender thing of cleaning the same mug over and over and over and says, "Hey, I ain't paying anyone anything." And Rowan nods and says, "Maybe that's the point."
Is there anyone... Does he have any relatives? She asks Rowan because she figures that she made Mac. And so it would be the most efficient use of her time is to ask her.
And I think Rowan smiles and actually just sort of points you at Mac and says, "Ask him. It's part of the experience."
Mac.
Yo.
Do you have any relatives?
Yeah, I have
this establishment with you.
I got a cousin Vinny from Jersey that comes by every once in a while.
Does your cousin get into any, bad news type of stuff?
And Max sort of clears his throat and says, "Yeah, of course, he's from Jersey. What do you expect?"
Rowan, what does he mean?
He's doing an accent. That's supposedly what 1950s Jersey accents were like.
Okay. Is he here?
I have to take a moment for that. Max smiles and says, "As far as I know, Vinny's in Jersey right now. I don't think he's actually here. No."
So probably a dead end then. She's gonna, I guess, inspect around for clues.
Sure, why don't you roll me a insight security difficulty of 1.
Do I have forensic science still?
Yes, you I don't think you do.
No, that was Secco. Wait. Yeah, no, it's Secco. What am I rolling?
Insight security, difficulty of 1. There is 3 momentum on the table if you want it.
I'm honestly
No.
surprised she didn't try to use escape and avoidance to dodge the brick.
That's what the umbrella was for.
Please. Okay, good. I rolled 2.
All right, so that means you get 1 success or 1 momentum back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do find a clue, actually. Above the bar, there is a picture of Mac and who you assume must be Vinny because they sort of share the same sort of broad chin, bit of scruff. And you see behind them is the same vehicle with the whitewashed tires that drove by earlier.
Okay, what's up with that? What's it called, Rowan?
It's called a car.
I recognize that car.
And
Mostly because you told me I needed to make sure I recognized it.
yeah, it's your first mystery. I'm helping you along. And Mac kind of turns and looks at the picture and goes, "Oh yeah, that's Vinny's car. He loves driving that thing around." Oh, I see you've also met our cafe kitten. And of course, there is a real life cat here that we're adding to the holodeck because we
dip her
can.
tail in all the pies. Okay, what can you repeat that last part?
Yeah. So Mac turned and said, "Yeah, that's Vinny's car. He loves driving that thing around."
But that's the car I saw throw this in here.
Well, that can't be right. Vinny and I are on great terms.
It would appear not. Enough so that he would throw a brick through your establishment window. Now, what are you trying to pay him?
Like I said, I don't pay anyone anything.
Had you been paying anyone anything at some point?
Nope. Haven't really had that kind of problems around here.
Do you know of anyone who would?
Not that I'm aware of. Just run an honest business.
Alel turns to Rowan. Am I crazy?
Well, what are you thinking, Doc?
I have no leads.
And Rowan just sort of smiles at you, almost as if she doesn't want to spoil the mystery.
Okay, so she will go, I guess, out into the street and see if there's any clues there.
All right, roll me another insight security, difficulty of 2 this time.
Okay.
And I believe you have 4 momentum on the table.
I'm gonna buy an extra die.
All right. And you get the 2 successes. Well, roll 1 more because you only rolled 2 there. But you do have the 2 you need to succeed.
And it was insight security.
All right, 3 successes. So when you step outside, what you notice is that the people here have very familiar faces. And I mean that because literally somebody wearing Jaro's face is walking by on the other side of the street. Now, of course, Ensign Jaro, is not in Starfleet uniform. He is, well, John, tell us a little bit about what Mr. Jaro, is wearing.
So, yeah, I'm wearing myself, nice little zoot suit type thing, and I got a wide brim hat, and I'm looking over at the establishment from across the street, smoking a cigarette under a lamppost.
Alel turns to Rowan. I didn't know that you invited Jaro, and she's gonna run over to him, waving.
And of course, Rowan sort of does that motion where she like reaches after you, but sort of goes, "Damn, should have been quicker." And yeah, you run right up to Jaro,
She just stands in front of him. She's like, "You look great."
What's your problem, Dame?
Look, you don't have to be in character. It's me, Alel.
You know, it's I don't know you.
fine. Rowan, why is Jaro here?
And Rowan, rubbing the back of her head, crosses the street and goes, I may have populated some of the characters with some of the biographical data of the Kongo's crew.
That's not okay.
Am I in trouble?
Is there another me in here?
Maybe. I have the computer set to do it at random so that even I wouldn't know.
Well, how many people how many holodeck program characters are of, like, what percentage are people from the ship?
27, 28, thereabouts. I mean, I got a whole bunch of the Deep Space October crew, too. That was hard to get.
Why'd you do that?
You know how I went and told you about how I really studied the motions of a jazz player and all that? Well, I can do that very easily. I can study motions, but the actual art of creating a holo character, like visually, I need a lot of help with that. I can design environments all day, but the people in them, the creatures in them, kind of have to outsource that.
So she looks around to see if she recognizes anybody else.
And you do. You see that beneath another lamppost a little bit farther down, you see quote-unquote Lee and quote-unquote Fives having a hushed conversation, which they can chip in whenever they feel is appropriate. And then sitting at a stoplight almost right next to you in a convertible car is a very impatient-looking Dotig. And of course, all of them are dressed period appropriately.
Oh my god, I can't do this.
It's green.
And the guy turns around in front and says, I know it's green. I'm trying to go.
Remember what the missus says, Larry? Don't fly off the handle.
So the big guy's supposed to strike at midnight, huh?
No, you got it wrong. It's tomorrow night at midnight.
But wait a second. If it's midnight, it's tomorrow morning, which is like a couple hours from now, right?
Wait, no, does that mean then that's like tomorrow at midnight or tonight at midnight?
I don't know, man. But if we get it wrong, we're on ice.
Is that what they're calling it now?
I don't know. You want some cement shoes? Go find out.
Look, we gotta get this figured out. Who do we talk to about this? Who told you that it was midnight?
The snake. Jimmy the snake.
The snake? I thought he got stepped on.
No. Nicky the Nose stepped in, saved his life.
Nicky the Nose? He would never do that.
It's weirding me out too, man. That's why we gotta figure this out. If it ain't midnight tonight, and it's midnight tomorrow. Is that the same thing?
Maybe it is the same thing. That's yeah.
Forget Star Trek. I want to hear more about this. Like, let's just bury down into this. I want to hear this.
Alella has just been like standing there listening to them, kind of like talking.
What's the broad looking at? What?
Hey, why don't you take a picture?
Why? What are you listening to other people's conversations for? Get out of here.
Sorry.
That's very rude.
Dang it, McGoit! Get moving!
Yeah, so she'll like grab Rowan's arm and like walk down the street a little bit. She's like, you gotta help me out here. I'm obviously really bad at this. How, like, I have no other clues.
Well,
and Mac isn't being helpful either.
That's part of the mystery, but I'll give you a hint. Let's just say that, and she does air quotes, Jaro isn't Vinny. But maybe he knows Vinny. I mean, why else would he be, across from the cafe case in the joint, as they used to say.
Oh. Okay, so she'll just go right up to Jaro and be like, "Tell me about Vinny."
What do you want to know about Vinny for? And what Vinny are we talking about? I don't know any Vinny.
You know, Vinny who just drove by in his
car.
There's a lot of cars driving down this road.
The white circled car.
Hey, that car over there has some beautiful white walls too.
The one that just came by here. That threw a brick through that window. Here's the brick. I'm holding the brick. And a little birdie told me. She pauses to make sure that was like the right expression. A little birdie told me that you know Vinny.
Little birds, they need to shut up a little,
But are little birds right? That's the question.
Little birds, they say all sorts of things.
Yeah, they said you know Vinny, so what about him?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got to get going here, and I'm gonna pay a visit to this nice establishment across the street.
The one with the shattered glass?
Yeah, it looks like
because of this brick that Vinny
looks like
threw,
a hell of a
and
jam.
you know him.
Just to butt in real quick, you guys do get a point of momentum from chat there.
Oh, nice.
And Jaro, quote unquote, walks across the street to the establishment.
She kind of follows him in stride and says, "Does this look like his handwriting on the brick?"
Jaro's handwriting or Vinny's handwriting?
Vinny's handwriting. She's asking Jaro. She's asking Jaro if this looks like Vinny's handwriting.
How am I supposed to know what this fictional Vinny guy scribbles his names like?
Because you know him, don't you? Yes?
I just don't know anybody. I know a lot of Vinnies, actually.
Do you know any Vinnies with white tires on their cars?
Tell you what, let's make this interesting. Alel, roll me a presence and security. Difficulty of 3. And if you succeed, Jaro might come clean. But if you fail, he's probably going to continue to stonewall you.
Okay, difficulty of 3.
I, for one, am hoping for a complication.
Okay.
A complication here. You know what? I actually do have two things from chat, evil powers. So let's make that complication range 16 to 20 because we want to see a complication here.
I'll be real sorry. I quit.
I'm gonna spend a momentum.
Okay, that'll give you 3 dice.
I'd probably go with 3. We have 5.
Do it.
Okay.
So you'd be rolling 40-20 then.
Insight. Wait, what? What am I rolling?
Presence security. And 40-20 when it asks.
4K. What is wrong with this?
Wow. Wow.
I do have determination.
That's 3 complications?
That is 3 complications. All right, so here's what happens as you try to get Jaro to squeal. First things first, Lee and Fives, you all both pull out Tommy guns. Now, what you do with those Tommy guns, I leave to your discretion, but you do make a move with Tommy guns. At the same time, Datig, or Lenny, as you have flavored yourself to be, the car in front of you literally explodes. And the third complication is that it starts snowing. And Rowan just sort of looks at all this and goes, okay, that needs to be fixed.
Damn, I told you it was midnight tonight. We gotta move.
I still think it was midnight tomorrow, but whatever. It's not gonna matter if we kill him tonight, right? It's all the same.
Right. And Hollow 5s will start shooting into the car that just exploded.
All right, so
What? He's already dead. That what are you doing, man? That
They said make it look like an accident. What do you think I'm doing?
it already looked like an accident. His car blew up.
No, it
The
looks like
bullets don't
more
make it
of
look
an
like
accident.
an accident.
Yeah, they do. How many bullets do you think fly around this city randomly?
Yeah, you got a
This
good point
many.
there.
guys, can you stop firing for like 2 minutes so I can get around?
Yeah, sure.
I got
Paul.
home. I got pork chops at home.
Pork
You
chops
need
and
2 minutes to get
applesauce.
around the car?
The complication the chat just gave me, when you try to turn your car over, Lenny, it doesn't. One of the bullets has clipped your ignition.
All right, somebody's got to pay for this. You shot my car.
Hey, take it up with Nikki the Nose.
That's
You take it up with Nicky the Nose. I'm taking it up with you. Wait, Nicky the
you want
Nose?
to take it up with me? I'll take it up to the Nose, and the Nose is gonna.
Nicky the
Nose-
Nose. You mean
Alel
Nicky?
is
You
gonna
mean Nicky
scream.
Kopacheski?
Does anybody know Vinny?
Vinny. Southside Vinny?
Hey, you know Southside Vinny?
Vinny
I know.
with the white tires.
Yeah.
Southside Vinny. He's always going on and on about his car. He just got these new tires.
Yeah, didn't he get a Packard?
Yeah, he did. I told him to get the Tucker, but he was like, nah.
Ella like nudges Rowan. Hey.
Yeah.
Talking about Vinny.
Yeah, that's your guy.
Hey, where is Vinny? Where's he at?
On the South Side. That's why he's called Southside Vinny.
She's asking where the Southside Vinny is. Listen to her. He's on the east side.
Right.
Oh,
You guys take it easy. I gotta go home.
All right, we'll watch the
guess
car
I'm-
for you.
Yeah, I guess I'm walking.
You could just call a
Not
cab,
going
you know.
anywhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use a cab neither. You know. Save it a walk.
Yeah, you guys take it easy.
And it's right about then that the holographic program that's running, actually ends, putting you back in the holodeck as the arch opens and the real Jaro steps in with a maintenance kit.
I got a report. The automated system is telling me that there's an issue with this holodeck.
Alel is going to be kind of shell-shocked that it ended so abruptly and she was unprepared
Mm-hmm.
because she was like super immersed.
Mm-hmm.
And so she'll just be standing there with like blank stare.
And I think Rowan does that thing where she like waves a hand in front of your face.
No.
Doc, you in there?
Yeah. How long into the festival starts? Does anyone know?
They're actually prepping for it. It should be within the hour, actually.
Okay. She like looks at her hand where like the brick was. Just kind of like folds it.
You okay, Doc?
Yeah, I think I'm just coming out of the holodeck with no warning. I'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, that could be a little jarring. Sorry, but there was a overload in one of the subjunctures.
And Rowan actually kind of takes off her hat and puts it on Alel's head and says, "We'll continue another time, Doc."
Okay. I'll work on my holodeck mannerisms.
And I think I'll stick around with Jaro here to figure out what caused that crash, because that was really weird there at the end. Those weren't supposed to happen all at once.
Oh, so it wasn't entirely my fault.
No, you were. Yeah, I don't think that was your fault at all.
Okay. Well, I look forward to continuing. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Ella
And-
will take her leave.
Yeah, and as Alel steps out, Rowan sort of sidles up to Jaro and says, "All right, I mean, you're more the engineer here than I am. What are we looking at here?"
We're looking at something I have to fix, and I'm usually better at fixing things without an audience.
I mean, I take your meaning, Jaro, but I kind of feel a little responsible. But
Oh no, you're a lot responsible. Oh, you see this line of code right here? This has created a recursive loop in your system. Yeah, this is entirely your fault.
wait a second, and she sort of narrows her eyes. That Jaro, I think I might have accidentally gotten a member of DSO's Hollow Crew.
You got what?
Well, okay, long story short, I got some data from DSO when we were there. And if that code is what I think it is, that's a holographic crew member from DSO.
Well, there were quite a few.
So, do we activate them, or what's the procedure here?
Is it their full matrix, or is it like a copy?
It's their full matrix.
Well, you need to be more careful, number one. But yeah, because they're not at DSO, they're here. So, okay. Jaro does a few little programming, and then says, "Computer, run program Rowan fucked up 1."
And I didn't quite have a token for this, but if you will imagine a larger gentleman, both in stature and girth, he is wearing a what looks to be some form of a tuxedo with coattails, and materializing with him is a microphone stand. And I'm not going to subject you to my singing, but basically this individual begins to sing Nessun Dorma, and he gets maybe about 1 or 2 bars in, stops and looks around and says, "Where the hell am I? This is Who are you two?"
Well, Jaro, I used to be the flight controller on DSO.
Yeah, you know what? I remember. You were part of the crew, the team that got rid of that whole computer virus thing.
Yeah. So, well, bad news is you've accidentally been, moved to the USS Kongo. But good news is we're on our way to DSO, so we'll be able to return you home fairly quickly.
All right. Is the Kongo equipped with hollow emitters everywhere?
Not everywhere, but in most of the main corridors and most of the main lounges. Yeah, and the bridge.
You got a lounge then?
Yeah. You want me to transfer you there?
Yeah, I might as well sing for an audience.
Okay, I'm sure they'll enjoy it. They're actually about to start a party, so you could. I actually think it would be rather festive.
And you, of course, enter in a few button commands, and the holographic crew member shimmers out of existence. And maybe as you start to collect your tools, Rowan sort of puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Man, you saved the entire station from a virus? I just thought you were just a timid stick in the mud, but you sound actually really cool, Jaro."
Well, I accomplished a lot of things there with the help of my old friend, Jonah.
Oh. Want to talk about it? I know a great cafe that we could do it in.
Actually, I do have some other things to take care of. This festival is actually taxing quite a few different systems throughout the ship.
Jaro, you're a terrible liar.
Have a good evening. Enjoy the party.
And as you leave, I think Rowan kind of looks after you and just sort of shakes her head. And we're going to now transition to 5 Aft, where I believe it is time for Captain Lee to tell us, after he received dancing lessons from Q, what does this festival actually look like? And just as a point of order, would everybody be in attendance? Would Jaro be off on another part of the ship? Who's here exactly?
The command crew primarily would have been invited, along with any Bajoran officers, and anyone who wished to attend would be free to mingle, enter, or depart at their leisure.
All right. Then I am going to throw Prin in there because I want to see you talk to yourself, maybe.
Oh, no.
But I guess the question is, would Alel be there?
Yes.
Okay, Alel would be there. And Jaro, if you want to enter in, just let me know. But based on what you just... Oh, go ahead.
Jaro's actually going to be there because of the whole orb experience thing, but he's going to be kind of a wallflower.
Okay. We will put you next to the plant then to be the wallflower. All right. So yeah, Lee, I know we sort of see the festival on DS9 to be sort of this affair with colorful banners, lots of incense burners, but what does it look like for the actual Kongo sort of lounge here? Is it the same sort of thing with the banners and the torches? Is it something else? Give us a little bit of flavor here.
Certainly. Comparatively speaking, it would be a relatively subdued affair with few of the various accoutrements and as you said, the colored banners. There would be a holographic brazier with a blue flame in the middle of, or towards the back of the room, and there'd be a much smaller flame burning. Alongside it, and this one would actually be real, fire suppression systems having been orchestrated to make sure that they wouldn't be triggered. Alongside them, there are a collection of Bajoran renewal scrolls. And at the beginning of the celebration, when it was called to order, Lee would discuss what those are and how they're used. We can do that in just a minute. Otherwise, the room has not been altered extensively.
All right.
However, there is almost like buffet area with various different Bajoran dishes like Passerat souffle. There's spring wine, and you can see that it is rather resplendent in terms of the foodstuffs that have been provided.
So Alel would have brought something for the buffet as well. Not quite a Bajoran dish, but it will be denobulan lemur kidneys prepared via sous vide and sliced.
Lemur kidneys. That's a new one.
It's a delicacy. So she would bring her dish in, again wearing like a nice civilian outfit, and then set it on the buffet and find somewhere to sit. Kind of just awaiting ceremonies, if there were any.
I think Datig would do much the same. He's brought a Tellarite dish that bears a striking resemblance to Earth's Swedish meatballs.
Well, since we're going around, does Fives bring anything?
Fives would have painstakingly iterated Tuwali pie in his own quarters by replicating the necessary ingredients and then actually cooking them. It helpful to be the tactical officer when you can disable the fire suppression systems in your quarters so that no one knows you're actually cooking. But he's satisfied with the 2 that he brought today.
Okay. And
Jaro has actually brought some Ratamban stew.
Ooh.
But he kind of sets it down at the potluck table, as stealthily as he can.
Let's make a roll of it, because I find it funny.
Oh no.
Fitness, security, difficulty of 1.
The DM really is Q. I'm not going to contest this.
Fitness security. Probably don't have a focus, but I will use a point of momentum.
I definitely would advise it. Yeah. All right, 2 successes. You get that momentum right back. Yeah, you could be as furtive as you like.
Yeah, he sets it down and just walks away from it.
All right.
And I would say that throughout the proceedings, up until there's sort of a formal pronouncement, Lee is just going around the room, trying as best as possible to be sociable. But you can see it's really rather awkward and stilted, in that this is not something that he's fully comfortable with.
And I think just to really sell that awkwardness, I think you do end up being approached by Prin.
Oh, goody. Oh. And Prin is taking in the sort of the flames that are burning in the distance, and he turns over to Lee. Oh, I must tell you, Commander, this is a fascinating ritual from a sociological perspective. I mean, the very idea of emulating all of one's past concerns, it's almost like you're slowly killing off parts of yourself, the things that made you who you are. Oh, yes, Ensign, that is an interesting interpretation of our cultural rituals. It's more about embracing new possibilities rather than excising parts of our past, about moving forward. Oh, yes, but it's the past, really, that enables us to understand the present, that makes the present what it truly is. And if you destroy that, then do you really have anything left? You're nothing without that past that makes you who you are. Cardassians have a tremendous sense of history, a respect for our ancestors and all the things that have built to. Yes, I understand that. Bajorans also had a marvelous cultural history before your people decimated it and stole all of our various different, cultural icons. Oh, yes, that was a bit of an error on our part, wasn't it? That was, these things have to be, left in the past and forgotten, sort of destroyed, burned up, and so I see the value and the reasonability of this marvelous festival of yours. It's I'm going to go over and talk with Dr. Datig now. I think that he needs me.
Alel kind of steps up. She sees like kind of the interesting exchange and steps up and says, Prin, this is the festival of gratitude. I just want to say I'm thankful for that one time that you saved me from that hideous monster on that ship. And it was really not something I expected from you, but I just want to say I'm grateful for that.
I don't have any recollection of that, Doctor. Commander Datig, could you come over here? I think that Dr. Alel might be having some sort of issue with her memory.
You don't remember that, though? Because it was the really, scary ship, and Fives, ran away, and then we had to go find him, and then we had to, shoot ourselves out of, a railgun.
Oh, yes, I remember all of that, Doctor. It's just that your life is so insignificant to me that I don't recall saving it.
Oh, okay. Still grateful. Anyway, Captain, I am really also grateful to you for your stringent safety concerns.
Oh, well, Doctor, I'm incredibly grateful that you were willing to listen and that you approached my concerns with such an openness.
Is there some sort of degree of irony involved in this ceremony? Because all this seems to be very disingenuous.
It's also about moving beyond the past, about allowing ourselves to recognize that there have been painful experiences in our lives and loosing them. In fact, that's what the flame is there for. The Bajoran renewal scrolls are designed to be a repository for our negative experiences or things that we want to transcend. So if there's something that you want to move on from, you can write it down on the scroll and then emulate it. And in the fires, as it is turned to ash, so too do we let go of those negative sentiments that have been binding us or constraining us.
Oh, Captain, you've got it all wrong. Negative sentiments are the very essence of sentient life. Our arguments, our disagreements, they are the essence of who we are. Why would you immolate them? No, you must internalize those negative feelings and keep them with you always.
You know, Lieutenant Commander, I'm glad that my people didn't embrace that. Otherwise, Ensign Prin and I would be having a very different conversation right at this moment.
And I couldn't help but overhear that Ensign Prin very proud of his, the Cardassians' respect for cultural heritage. However, I'm compelled to point out his hypocrisy, simply because Cardassians themselves were. They plundered their own burial vaults to sell artifacts when the Cardassian Central Command overthrew the Tapa Council.
Have you thought about settling down?
And as Dotig reacts to that, we just slowly shift over to where Jaro's hanging out in the corner. And Jaro, you don't know when she got there, but there's a horned woman in the same golden dress and furred overcoat, just sort of standing next to you, watching the party, arms crossed. You might be muted.
Oh, hello. And you are?
No, doesn't really matter. What I'm here...
Yes, actually it does.
Well, if you must know, I'm a Q. Still haven't settled on a name, but thought I'd get a lay of the land, see how your captain actually reacted in a social situation. He's an awkward gentleman, isn't he?
I wouldn't classify him as awkward. Probably just uncomfortable.
Speaking of uncomfortable, you're going to hate me for this. I have a message for you.
Okay.
And she actually kind of leans in to whisper in your ear. He does really forgive you. And then she leans back.
Well, thank you for the message. I need to make sure that fire suppression system over there, that one over there is truly disabled.
Run along, little Jaro. Run along. And I'd like to imagine as Jaro runs across the room to inspect a fire suppression system. I tell you what, I think that might actually be a good opportunity to end today's session. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, what did you guys think overall? I think I might have introduced the plot a little heavy towards the end, but what did you guys think overall?
No, I thought that was great. It was nice to be able to simply interact without an imminent threat or mystery or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just to let the characters be, and see it. But I as a player, am curious what everybody, whoever's participating, is putting on their renewal scroll.
Oh, you know what? That is very important. Let's handle that before we say goodbye. Is this like when we
go around at Thanksgiving around the table and we say that's what I'm thankful for?
It is just as awkward, yes.
It's... Yeah, so the tradition is to, like I said, destroy some element of your past or to release something. So it's that element that you are giving up.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with you, Dotig, since you brought it up. What are you getting rid of?
Well, I as you know, Dotig sort of scribbles on the scroll in actual ink, which he considers to be quite novel. Mm-hmm. What he writes on his scroll before he immolates it is Dr. Keeve Dotig.
Interesting. Let's go to Fives next. What is Fives burning?
Fives has been struggling to recapture who he was before his assimilation and post-assimilation, sort of reconciling how he's been treated in comparison to the scant memories he has of his youth.
Uh-oh, did he freeze for everybody else?
No, you're back.
Oh, he's back.
Nope.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm frozen.
Stop.
Actually, I just got an unstable warning from Zoom. So okay. So Fives is writing his family name on his renewal scroll, and he is basically pledging to move forward as someone new. He's not quite Paul Tate, and he's not quite Fifth of Five. He's different now.
I love it. What about you, Alel? What are you writing down?
I think Alel she's probably writing down something to do with I think her fear of failure, which became acutely apparent after failing to find a suitable, in her opinion, solution to the Shellyak debacle. So we never got their names, right?
No, they never gave their names.
Okay. She would just be writing something to that effect, I think.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jaro, we're going to do you, then the captain. What is Jaro putting into the fire?
Jaro writes down that he needs to forgive himself for the events of his first ship.
Okay. Good step forward. Then last but not least, what is the captain writing?
And I think before he actually wrote his response, he would go up, and whether we could roleplay this out or whether I just describe it, he would sort of approach everyone, gather their attention. And he'd say, this festival is truly not about destroying elements of our past. It's not about forgetting them. It's about recognizing that they happened and letting go of the pain, letting go of the guilt, the things that hold us back, the things that, if we let them, could destroy us. It's not about forgetting the lessons that we learned. It's about learning from them, growing beyond the pain. And it's also about using those experiences to embrace a new future, new possibilities and new beginnings, unfettered from the constraints of the past. Over the last 8 months, I hope that all of you have felt that you've had the chance to do that this ship, this crew, has been a new beginning for you, and that every step of the way is another one, a new dawn, a new opportunity to understand ourselves, to understand each other, and to understand this glorious universe that we've been tasked with exploring. Here's to 1,000 new beginnings, today and every day that follows. Thank you, all of you, for experiencing this one with me.
And I think, Lee, as you start
Jaro,
to take... Oh, go ahead.
Jaro looks over at the queue and kind of elbows her. Not so awkward, is he?
And it's as Lee puts in his slip that she sort of waves her hand a little bit. She doesn't do the flashy thing like normal Q would do, but she sort of waves her hand, and coming out of the flame as the paper sort of envelops and begins to ignite, the flames themselves begin to form into a literal phoenix, and a cry of a bird is heard as this little phoenix kind of flies up and begins a circle of the room. and it spins around maybe the room once, twice, and then it literally phases out of the window and flies out to join the stars. And that is where we will end today's session. But yeah,
awesome.
I love
The
it.
tactical. We need fire suppression in the mess hall immediately.
Thank you
that
for
was
bringing
good.
that up. Thank you for bringing that up, Datig. I know I was forgetting something, so thank you for that.
Oh, man, no.
All right. Well, I do want to say a few things before I cut the stream. You guys were really generous with the gift subs and the bits earlier. I want to say thank you so much for all that. The support means a lot to everyone here. It also helps pays for my new glasses, which I'm getting in a few weeks, so that's nice. Let's see. We should be on track, and this was something I was actually kind of saving because I wanted to see where this is going. So we're still going to meet at the normal time next week. But this was actually the season finale. So this is season 1 finale of Kongo. So next week we'll begin season 2. To that end, and again, I'm saying this on stream so there's a record of it, the players have the benefit of an arc milestone. So feel free to go through and apply an arc milestone to your characters, to the starship, whatever. But moving forward, we are going to be using the Klingon rules for reputation, for advancement, etc. So you'll want to read up on those before we start next session, because it does kind of change from what we've been doing. But yeah, in terms of stream content, this is where we say goodbye to YouTube. Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody, but YouTube, see you later.